What is going on, everybody? We've got some big DC movie news to talk about today. So it looks like Jared Leto is going to be joining Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we're going to talk about this article from The Hollywood Reporter, what that means in the now, and what this is going to mean for the future of HBO Max's DCEU. What is going on, everybody? Tyler here, and this is your movie fix. So, where the hell am I? All the old viewers might be wondering. This is something new. I am actually in my nearly completed movie room. This is my home theater. You can't really see it, everything's in front, but it actually can kind of double as a studio. It's a nice sound-treated room. I got the couch here. I can set everything up in a nice mobile station. So, I'm real excited. I can actually start making some videos again. Pretty uninterrupted, so I'm real excited about this. And let's talk about this news about Jared Leto returning to play Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we got an article yesterday from The Hollywood Reporter. This kind of came out of nowhere. Some of us have kind of heard the whispers of this happening for many months now, since Justice League was announced back in May of this year. So there are a lot of implications for this story, but let's go ahead and break down what we've got here. So the project officially titled Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's actually kind of news in itself, because we've known that Zack was pushing for that title to be the one that we got, instead of the Snyder Cut or the director's cut, some version of that. So continuing on, the project titled Zack Snyder's Justice League is being overseen by HBO Max, not Warner Brothers, that is important, which is financing the new round of shooting and the completion of many unfinished scenes, and will air as a 4-episode event series next year. We've known this about the 4-episode series. We've known that this is HBO Max putting up the money. So for the uninitiated, Zack Snyder's Justice League is not even a new cut of the film. This is the original cut. This is the original idea. This is taking all of the footage that he shot back in 2016 and finally being allowed to compile that into a movie, as well as HBO Max giving him an extra $70 million to not only complete the film, but to go back and shoot additional scenes, not reshoots, shoot additional scenes that he wasn't really allowed to shoot under Warner Brothers because they were deemed too scary, too dark, whatever. He's going for a rated R product. And we were never in a million years going to get a rated R 4-hour movie of the Justice League put in theaters. So this is really a blessing in disguise. All of the tragedy aside, all the turmoil, all the drama that it took to get to this point. It's really unfortunate, but it seems like it was worth it, in the end, for what we're getting, what it means for Zack and the entire cast and crew. So, continuing on, shooting is currently underway with Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, Amber Heard on top of Leto. And it's unclear which other actors are included, so this seems to be only the first round of additional photography. We've heard that he's still got to shoot some stuff with Harry Lennox, who's going to be his Martian Manhunter. We know he didn't get to fully complete that back before he left. So there's going to be more. We know that Henry Cavill's supposed to be getting involved. But there are implications to this specific group of people that are shooting right now. So even as the shoot rolls ahead, 2 producers who were involved with the theatrical movie are quietly moving to the side, John Berg and Jeff Johns, who were pretty notorious for botching this whole thing, the too many cooks in the kitchen thing. They are part of the reason why we are in this mess, why 2017's theatrical Justice League was what it was, and they are not attached to this in any way whatsoever. They are not getting producers' credit. And they are responsible for hiring Joss Whedon to come in and salvage the failed movie. So, very interesting there. Sources close to Berg and Johns have confirmed the duo's intention to remove their names from the Snyder Cut, since they didn't work on this version and are no longer studio executives. The sources also say the move pays respect to Snyder's creative vision and the additional photography shoot, which is a really big deal because he really didn't want people who stepped all over his toes and were forcing these major creative changes that were against everything that everyone on the creative side actually believed in. So those are kind of the bigger portions of this article, that Jared Leto is coming back as Joker. But let's take a look at the fact that Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, Amber Heard, and Jared Leto as Joker are together right now. They could be shooting right this very moment over in Pasadena or whatever soundstage that Zack is actually going to be shooting on. But why would Batman, Cyborg, and Mara be doing shoots with Joker? Now, there's a couple possibilities here. They could be doing some separate scenes. That's very true. But let's talk about different possibilities of what could actually be going on here. So, as far as just Joker, Jared Leto being in the movie, we've heard back that the original script included a breakout scene from Arkham Asylum with Joker breaking out. Like, they had a deal worked out with Deathstroke and Lex Luthor. And Joker was supposed to stage this big riot in the prison. It was going to be a breakout, and that's how we get Lex Luthor and Deathstroke ultimately out of Arkham for the ending scene of the movie. So that was something that was in the original script. Was that ever shot? I don't actually believe it was, but we will see. So that is one possibility. And then the other one is going to be the Nightmare timeline, the apocalypse time on Earth. That was everything that was getting set up for Justice League 2 and 3. It's still unclear of the exact details of what happens in 2 and 3. But we know that 3 was ultimately going to be the complete Nightmare timeline. Darkseid has taken over Earth. Evil Superman. We have the Resistance fighters. So there's this great art here of Joker and Deathstroke. So the idea is Superman's gone. Wonder Woman has died. Lois Lane is dead. And also Arthur, Aquaman, is gone or dead. We don't really know the specifics of what happens to Aquaman and Wonder Woman. I had the impression that Wonder Woman dies in an attempt to save Lois from Darkseid sometime at the end of Justice League 2, and Arthur dies sometime during the big fight with the whole League and Darkseid. That's just my speculation. Nothing really to point that out. We just know that they aren't really there. So we have Mara, part of the Resistance fighters. Cyborg, Flash, we know are part of them. And we've been hearing these things that Deathstroke and Joker are actually part of the Nightmare timeline, that they're part of the Resistance, because things have gotten so fucking bad that Batman had to recruit his villains to be like almost like generals in this Resistance, which is a really interesting idea. It's almost like a play on Flashpoint. So this is like a amalgam of Final Crisis, Flashpoint, and some other, like Injustice, that other one. So I think those are kind of some scenarios that we could be seeing. Like this is a 4-hour movie. We know that he had a 3.5-hour cut, so he's getting to shoot an extra 25-30 minutes. On top of, we don't really know that he's using, like, here is the 2.5-hour cut or 3.5-hour cut, and I'm just going to slap on 30 minutes of additional photography. He had 5 hours of footage to play with, and this is going to be unfiltered, unadulterated Zack Snyder making his ideal Justice League movie with no one breathing down his neck. None of the suits at HBO Max are like, you can't include this, you can't have this violence, you can't have this creative decision, because it's going straight to streaming. They don't really got to worry about ratings. They don't got to worry about box office. They're just allowing him to do his creative process and get that out there for us. So that'll be really interesting if we do get that Nightmare. I think that's possibly what's going on if they are shooting all of those actors on screen right now at the same time. Or, we could have some scene involving Mara to help intertwine Aquaman, or to lead into other things. And I think the third option of what this could be, I think this is actually the least likely of all these scenarios, and what's implied here is a flashback of some kind featuring Robin with Batman. I don't really see anywhere in the story that would really fit or make sense why we would need that. I think that's a plot point that's more deserved to be in Ben Affleck's Batman series that's going to be on HBO Max. We'll get into that in just a second. So those are the possibilities that I'm going with: the jailbreak with Luthor and Deathstroke, Nightmare, which seems to be the big one. We know we are getting more Nightmare sequences from Cyborg, Flash, and Batman. There's going to be a side story of that and why they are seeing these images. And then finally, possibly, least likely, the flashback story with Batman. But there's so many implications here with including Jared Leto as Joker. We know that he was done really dirty on 2016 Suicide Squad. He's been very vocal about it, that he shot so much footage for Suicide Squad that never made it into the final cut. Margot Robbie has talked about it. David Ayer has talked about it. And lately, David Ayer has been quite candid about the whole thing, that, he played ball with the studio. He promoted the movie that they wanted him to. But, that wasn't a version of the movie that he believed in, because, again, that was another project that was just severely tampered with on a studio level. Yes, David Ayer got to control his own reshoots and do it, but it wasn't his story. That wasn't what he believed in. He has his own cut. It is done. He shot everything he needed. It was done and completed. They wanted him to go back and change the tone of Suicide Squad to further align with something like Deadpool, because Deadpool had just came out and it was a massive success. Really weird, really terrible move. But Jared Leto, specifically in that movie, a lot of his scenes were reshot. The studio wanted him to go back and tone down some of the psychotic, like, dark takes. So not only were these reshot, most of the scenes with Joker, like, we got like 7 minutes of him in the movie. Most of what we got was reshot. It was different takes, alternate takes, on top of the fact that it was watered down from studio notes. And also, David Ayer himself didn't even have final approval on the cut of the movie. So he's not even choosing takes that he approves of, that he thought was good. The studio brought in an outside entity to do the editing on the movie and basically locked David Ayer out of the room. So I am still willing to give Jared Leto a fair shake on the Joker. Were there some things in Suicide Squad with his Joker that I did not like? Yeah. There were quite a few takes and scenes where they were really odd. And I'm sure his Joker is going to be odd. He's unhinged. He's psychotic. He's got a lot of West Coast gangster influence on him. However, what we got was a different edit of the film, and that makes a big difference. The different takes make a very, very big difference. Even just the scene from the trailer where I'm just going to hurt you really, really bad. Even that was entirely different than what we got in the movie. And the one in the trailer was far better. And even David Ayer had recently said that he watched his version of the film, which he now has access to. He watched his cut of Suicide Squad, and he's like, you know what? This is a fucking amazing film. And this is the tone of the Comic-Con trailer from 2016. And that was what everybody was so excited for, was that tone of that trailer. And instead, they doubled down on the Bohemian Rhapsody thing. However, we're getting a redemption for so many people involved with the film. The entire cast and crew of Justice League, but also bringing in Jared Leto under Zack Snyder, not David Ayer, which is going to be really interesting. But, just these second chances. This is really, really interesting. Not only did they manage to get Ben Affleck back, they've got Jared Leto back. And he hasn't played the character in 5 years. 5 years is 5 years ago was when they shot Suicide Squad. And I can't believe that this is simply a one and done deal. So I think there are other projects planned, betting on the success of Justice League on HBO Max. So I think there are several projects that make a lot of sense for Jared Leto to continue on. So, and part of the implication of having Ben back and Jared back, 3 projects that I think could fit on HBO Max or theatrically, whatever, would be the Mad Love story that David Ayer was working on, that was about like the duo of Harley and Joker, the movie that never got to happen. That one, the Gotham City Sirens that David Ayer was developing, that was going to have Catwoman and Poison Ivy, the big 3, Harley, as the Gotham City Sirens, and that girl gang, which kind of got turned into Birds of Prey in a way, but I think you can still very easily pull off Gotham City Sirens within the DCEU, with Birds of Prey still existing. That's just fine. And then lastly, Ben Affleck's Batman, which is going to hopefully be either a miniseries or a complete movie that's going to go to HBO Max, and we know that Jared Leto would be involved with that, along with Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. And finally, the next big one after Justice League is going to be David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So this has got to be just a crazy catharsis for all of these creators, for David, for Zack, for the actors like Ben Affleck and Jared Leto that were done really, really dirty, to have their projects just mangled and completely torn away from what they signed on for. So I'm really happy that we are getting this. It kind of, again, feels like it came out of nowhere. So what do you guys think is the more likely scenario with including Jared Leto in these additional shoots, the jailbreak, the nightmare, or a flashback with Batman? And what do you think about continuing on the DCEU on the HBO Max app with Mad Love, Gotham City Sirens, Batman, and David Ayer's Suicide Squad? It feels like we're back in like 2014 when these projects were being announced, and we're seeing all these set photos of BVS going on. This is a really, really cool do-over. So here we are, guys. I think I'm back to making some more videos. Leave your thoughts down below on what you think of this news of Jared Leto returning for Zack Snyder's Justice League.